Good morning and welcome to Community Connections, Resources, and Gardening. I'm your host, Quandra Gaines, and today we're going to talk about gardening. We're going to talk about how to garden on a shoestring budget. I know a lot of people are interested in gardening. They love growing flowers, but they don't want to go through in what is perceived to be a long drawn process in choosing the seeds, buying the seeds, planting them, and maintaining your garden, weeding, those kind of things. I've been gardening for about 7 to 8 years. I love flowers. I'm a spring baby, so I love plants. It's a very soothing, relaxing process for me because I can actually play a role in reducing the carbon blueprint and making our earth, our environment, a much more clean, calm place to live. So today I'm going to share some tidbits of things that I use or I've started using. There's different types of gardens. Some are called container gardens, where you can actually use a pail, a bucket, a laundry cart, something really normal. Or you can use containers like this, which is a mesh container where I put my seeds. Usually I'd use these for herbs. Or you can use a container like this. This pretty much is for my seeds if I'm trying to grow tomato plants. I can space them out, or cucumbers, vine plants, watermelon, pumpkin. It gives me enough space to put enough seeds. So when once they come sprout out and grow, I can then put them into the ground. I'm one of those type of people who starts my garden early. Basically, I know every year what I'm going to grow. I have some things that come back every year. I love rosemary, so I still have rosemary in my garden. That's about 6 years old. Comes back every year. It blooms. I can go out now and clip rosemary to put in my food. Another thing is, I'm not one of those people who will go out and spend a large amount of money on soil or seeds. I guess it's taken me a couple years to realize that you can pretty much seed from the plants that you grow. I'm cheap. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm very cheap. I'm frugal. I love to grow things. I love beautiful things. I love color. So what I did was, in the beginning, I went out and bought a bunch of seeds. Went to the dollar store, went to Dollar General. They're about 25 cents, 39 cents a piece. And I was able to grow a bountiful garden by using just Dollar Tree or Family Dollar seeds. As I started perfecting my craft, when I bought my home, I had enough space to pretty much outline how I wanted my yard to look so that my dogs and I could be happy, and so could my plants. I do grow a lot of vegetables, kale, collard, turnip, greens, corn, bell peppers, red, yellow, and green, peppers, jalapenos, chili peppers, poblano peppers, radish, 2 types of radish, turnips, broccoli, spinach. We eat it. We eat a lot of that. We can actually blanch it, freeze it, or flash freeze it, and go back in our deep freezer when it's cold outside and use it. So today I'm going to share how I um, pick seeds. I have a couple gardener or growers who I purchase seeds from if I don't keep seeds from the year before. I'm a huge pollinator fan for bees, for butterflies, and for birds. Um, I'm a real great supporter of our native plants, especially in Maryland. These are really beautiful. So I have a garden in the front yard, which consists of rose bushes, wildflowers. I love begonias. So begonias are very pretty. They last. They come back every year, and I love this begonia that has this deep purple color, and it blooms. It gets huge, and it blooms, and it's kind of sits in the back, but it's really pretty because it bounces off of the rose bushes and the wildflowers, and it's a very beautiful, serene space in the front. This year I'm going to do hanging plants, where I'll have some plants that kind of stream over the balusters and the rails to kind of give that serene but marshy kind of space. I'm going to be doing a lot of different things in my front yard this year. I'm going to add some more rose bushes as you come up the steps. And I'm going to change the color of my front porch where I could have potted plants around the front porch. So we have different types of bees in Maryland, and I love bees because they pollinate my plants. So I go through the bee rescue. There's different types of flowers that attract bees. And because I use these as companion plants for my garden, I may not have as many I won't have the bugs in my garden that usually eat the under the leaf, like snails. And snails for me can eat through caterpillars. So there are some plants that just deter caterpillars in my garden. So I have bee rescue. These are wildflowers that I put in my garden, and they attract bees. Then I have a mix. There are certain birds and butterflies that I love to have in my garden. Hummingbirds, different type of monarch butterflies. They are very beautiful. Plus, they leave certain things on my plants that deter insects that would otherwise ravish my garden. And I use this to attract butterflies and birds. I put this around my sunflowers because I have a different variety. I don't just have the big yellow bloom. I have like a variety of green and red and yellow types of sunflowers that I grow with my tomato plants. They are great companion plants. Another thing I grow are herbs. I keep a variety of herbs in my garden, some all year round, and some throughout the spring and summertime. If you are a tea drinker, there's a kit that you can get at Home Depot, or you can get it at Amazon, and they have a variety of teas where you can actually kind of blend the leaves and kind of make your own tea blend. One of my staple herbs that I keep in my garden year round is rosemary. Rosemary, it's an amazing smell. Another one is basil. Basil you can grow all year round. Peppermint, I love peppermint tea. I love peppermint in like sauces and vinaigrettes, so you can grow that. Lavender, lavender is a great herb that you can use because you can use it for potpourri, you can use it for lavender tea, you can use it um, in your garden as a companion plant for things like cilantro or chives. It is beautiful, but it also, you can eat it. You can actually eat the herbs in your salads, your vinaigrettes. Parsley, I grow all year round, especially this year because of the different ups and downs with the weather. I was able to keep parsley all year round. Thyme and sage and dill can grow in the hot, cold weather. So thyme is a spice that you can use in your sauces and your soups. Dill is something that you can use in like potato dishes. Dill you can use for pickling, for garnishes, but it also has you can actually grow this all year round, and this could be a great companion plant for broccoli. Then sage. We often use sage for like turkey, chicken, fish, but it grows in the winter as well. So this is pretty much what I would start off with for my herb garden. In most cases, it depends. I usually start off, if I'm just going to do like if I'm doing it all year round, I would grow it in this bag until it gets to about a certain point, upon which I would then take this out, put it in water, put the roots in a water like flask, and I can pick off what I want, but the plant is still growing. Now, if I want to do batches of plants, I would use this container because I would keep the soil to like midpoint. So let's say I wanted to do sage, thyme, and parsley and basil. I could actually put the seeds all around the outside part of this container, and as they grow, I can then remove one at another and start planting in the smaller so that they can get to a certain point where they're a lot more stronger, and then I can kind of break them in and out of the house so that they become hardier, and then I would put them into one of my planting stations. I have a couple herb planting stations that I can put basil, red basil, different types of basil into a pot that kind of hangs on a tier, and then I can pick as I want. Another herb that I grow most of the time is oregano. Oregano is often used in Italian foods, but a lot of other foods. I mean, it's a really mild plant. It grows. There's 3 different types of oregano, and every year I do grow them. Now, if you want to let's say you want to space out your garden to have herbs that you can use in teas. I would plant peppermint. Peppermint I use throughout my garden because it has a smell. It smells really good in the garden. And I usually grow it around my lettuce. Grow it around throughout my garden with my kale collard because there are some bees and some bugs that are attracted that are good for my garden, but it also deters other bugs, animals, rodents from coming into my garden. Now, last year I was able to venture out and get new herbs that I had never tried before. Star anise, because I cook with a lot of cumin. I like a lot of spicy foods. I use cumin. I like Indian food, so I grow cumin. Rosemary. Cilantro is in my garden for different reasons. I drink it, but I also cook a lot of broths and stew with it. And I grow cilantro and dill quite regularly because I love loaded potatoes, and that's the first ingredient that I used. Another thing I also do is I'm famous for using the same packet and then I sow the seeds from the prior plant into this bag. So I can get a lot of seeds. I always buy bulk seeds because I don't go back for years. So I usually flash freeze my seeds from the previous garden, and then I put them in little containers. So this year, when you're deciding on what you want to grow, the best thing would be is to get your herbs, because you can use them all year round. Now, if you want to go into a much more wide, vast garden, like I do a lot of tomatoes. I do 3 types of varieties of tomatoes. I use a large batch of basil. I love red basil. Amazing. Has a great taste. Very bold, but in some dishes it can be very mild. I also grow from different growers. One of my favorite growers is Gurney's. They have a nursery in Indiana. But a lot of the seeds that I get from them are like lettuce. They package things very differently. They put it in like a mesh with the seeds. And the only thing I have to do is kind of move the dirt, put the seeding in, and it'll pop through. The plant will pop through. I usually go through them at least. I haven't bought anything from them in the last year because I got a lot of lettuce seeds and peppers. Another garden I use is Gardener's Basics. They do a lot of heirloom seeds that have no GMOs or open pollinated. They're not hybrid. I get a lot of peppers from them, like the really hot peppers. That's why it's in a special container. Another thing is Victory Garden is a really great brand. I got these seeds in 2021. And they have like little containers, like seeds, like carrots. I do a lot of carrots and tomatoes. I use a lot of turnips. And they give you seeds for peas, like split peas or cucumber. And as you can see, for the last couple of years, I've been using these things. And once this packet is gone, then I'll go and get these seeds from them. I do a lot of peppers, hot peppers, chili peppers, serranos, habaneros, a lot of peppers. And they come in these packets. I usually use plastic gloves when I handle these seeds because a lot of these seeds are very, very hot. This year I will probably go back to this grower to get some more. But these are different types of hot peppers. Hungarian hot wax pepper, habanero pepper, and they have different strengths. This is 400 milligrams hot. And sweet banana peppers, which are light. California Wonder peppers, which are very hot. So every year, Anaheim, I don't grow these in the same soil that I grow my other plants, because the plant it can take on flavor. Like one year I grew Anaheim in a small corner of my garden, and I had zucchini and squash, radishes, and some of my bell peppers, my red ones. And it took on the flavor of the Anaheim pepper. It actually kind of like went through one section of my garden where I had hot zucchini, hot squash. So it's very important that you decide what you're going to plant and then focus on that. So what I usually do is I get my spices or my plants, and I actually will decide what I'm going to plant. And then once I know what I'm going to plant, and there's a lot of seeds in here, I then put it in a bag. And this is my garden of what I'm going to do this year. So all my plants, all the things I'm going to grow this year is in a bag. So I can now put these seeds back. I won't be using anything in these boxes or in this container for the rest of the year. So this year I'm going to double up on my herbs this year. So like I said, basil, I have basil, the red. It's a very dark color. Sweet basil, which you use for sauces and spices. Summer Savoy has a very rich taste. It almost looks like a wildflower. You have to put these in full sun. So what I usually do is I then separate my garden. Before I do any planting, I separate what's full sun, what doesn't need sun, vine plants, and then I start sectioning them off. Once I've done that, I then go take a nice little walk in my backyard. And then I decide where certain things are. Every year I do not grow the same plant in the same space. I kind of turn it up, turn my soil up, throw a lot of clippings into that soil, throw a lot of worm castings in the soil so that the worms can eat up all of that stuff. During the winter, I cover it up with mesh, and I switch my garden. So last year on the right side of my garden, I did a lot of kale, collard, chard, turnip greens, corn, kale, and turnips. So this year, I'm going to move that over on the right side of the yard, and I'm going to do pumpkin, China rose carrots, pumpkin squash, bell peppers, arugula, broccoli, and spinach. And then lettuce, like the two different types of lettuce this year, butter squash and black seeded. Once I've done that, then I can move things around, like my rooted, like the turnips. I can move them on the exterior part of the growing station. A lot of animals. Um, we have. I live in Northeast Baltimore City, so we do have raccoons. We have rodent black snakes that kind of circle around into your garden, kind of to sit in a perch to see if they can uh, catch a rodent. We have a really great community. So where we clean our alleys, make sure there's no trash clippings. So there's maybe some around that we haven't seen, but they lurch right into your garden. They're not harmful to the regular person. They do not bite you. They will just kind of move away from you. Raccoon can be a detriment to your garden. They dig to get the turnips. They dig, root it, and pull it out. So I usually keep companion plants around my peppers, bell peppers, green peppers. I usually put habaneros or Anaheim plants around my peppers because they don't always take on the hotness or flavor. Or I'll put beets or carrot plants beside it, or um, yellow wax green beans, green beans. There's different types because they'll dig up around the plants that they like. But I usually keep a border of homemade mixture of dollar store black chip peppers and dollar store hot sauce with a little sprinkle of dollar store cayenne pepper. I don't know what it is about the dollar store brand, and I mix it up in a paste, and I do a line around the exterior of my planting boxes, and then in the interior around the planting box. And that smell, and it stays because it's pasted, and you put it with dirt and it kind of gets clumpy. Um, that smell deters raccoons from coming into your yard. Or if it worst come to worst, I usually go get coyote urine granulate, and I put on the exterior of my yard, my cedar fence outside, as well as inside. And it deters my dogs as well as the raccoons from coming into my yard. It also deters the foxes that are in our area from coming into my yard. Another thing too is to decide how much you're going to plant. As a first-time grower, if you have a couple big planting containers, you can put a lot of plants in that one container. You can do a tier garden. You can do a layer garden where you put one big container, kind of put your plants on the exterior. Like if I was doing a container garden, I would put all my herbs, all the different herbs, like different basils, oregano, chives and dill, your tall plants in the, as you go the levels around, like the lower level, I would put like the chives, your rosemary, your plants that are going to get big. Dill, parsley, rosemary, those plants are going to grow. And then you can put some companion plants in the same section, like lettuces, because they're going to kind of spread over the plant. So you can put another level around the base of the, like lettuces and peppermint and basil, those kind of things, because they're going to kind of fall over. And then the next tier, you could try oregano and your peppers and things that they're going to grow. but you'll have all these different things. Thyme, because thyme is like a little vine. It's going to be like, it's going to spread, but it's going to kind of drape over. If you want to try a new plant like a pepper, you can put that in your next tier. If you want to try, I always grow my family plants together, like kale, collard, turnip greens, broccoli, cabbage, turnip greens. All of these, they grow together. Spinach. I throw some cilantro in there too. And I grow these together because they're the same family. And then I can always tie something else into it. Like I'll throw, if I want extra basil, I'll throw basil in there. If I want extra thyme, I'll do them as a border plant. And they kind of grow together. And because they're not vine plants, they will grow together. Now, if I'm trying to do teas, I have these pocket growers, like a mesh kind of thing, and I'll grow peppermint and different tea blends into those pockets because they're going to stay contained in those things. I don't want them to get too big, so I snip those quite frequently. Peppermint, I use peppermint in everything. Lemonade, tea, steeped peppermint is a good, has, the medicinal properties of keeping your throat and your chest clear. If I'm trying new things, and I do try new things, I grow 4 different types of string beans, 2 types of cucumbers. Smooth skin is the regular kind of cucumber. It has like a smooth skin. I grow 2 of those. One is called Market More. And I grow those with radishes as the border plant because the radishes is going to pop up first. And these are vines. I usually kind of keep them stabilized with like a string. It goes up a little to my cedar fence and comes out and it grows up along that. Other things that I grow as companion plants are onions, chives, garlic. There's 3 different types of chives. One has a garlicky taste. I usually grow this around my cucumbers. There's a lot of relishes. There's a lot of different types of relishes. Relishes I usually put in the front because they're the first plants that usually like burst out. I usually grow them around my squash, zucchini, because it gives a scent that deters other animals from basically going and attacking my squash. So the first thing I would say is that if you're going to grow peppers, be mindful of what kind of peppers you're growing. If you're going to grow tomatoes, be mindful of the type of tomatoes you're going to grow. There are a lot of types of tomatoes. Tomatoes are territorial. There's some plants that grow well with tomatoes, and then there's some plants that don't grow with tomatoes. I would say do your research. Really think about what you want to do. Because the more you grow, the more time you're going to be out there weeding and pruning and maintaining your garden. And the one myth that most people think that is once you put the plants in the ground, everything can be done by Mother Nature. That's not true. There are some plants that love to be in the shade. So you need to make sure you read the back. I usually put my full sun, like plants like tomatoes love sun. 90% of their life is in the sun. That's why I space them out and I put companion plants like cumin or star of anise between them because it's going to keep the ground moist, but not too moist. There are some birds that will go and nest in your tomato plants if they're too congested. There are some caterpillars who love overrun, overcrowded gardens. You want to make sure there's plenty of ventilation in between each of them, but at the same time, you want to grow the plants that you eat. Don't start your first garden with 2 different types of cucumbers if you know that you're not going to eat them, or all these different types of carrots, knowing for well you don't know what they taste like, or growing too much rosemary, knowing for well that you're not going to use it. I grow a big garden because we eat a lot of vegetables. We eat a lot of cucumbers, greens, kale. I mean, saute them, do them in salads. Kale salad is amazing. Collards, saute them in a nice hot cast iron pan with onions and some red onions and things. My thing for you is to educate you on a point of growing something that you're going to love to go out and do. Gardens are can be a very stress-free, wellness kind of joyful, because you're playing in the dirt, you're doing all kinds of things. So the next thing I would say is, while you know your plan of action is to, rather than spend a whole bunch of money on seeds, go to the dollar store. Because I got these from growers, mine's for 59 cents. But if you go to the dollar store, you can get them for like 35 cents. And you can keep these seeds as long as you keep them in an airtight container. I always say date them, because then you know when you opened up the bag. I'm one of those people who do not open up a lot of seeds. I always keep one unopened seed in the back of a seed that has been opened. So one of the things I would say is, the first thing is to walk through your backyard and see the space that you're going to use for your garden. Look at the amount of space that you want to use for your garden. I mean, unless you want to have gardens different places, you can have flower gardens, wildflower gardens. They are annuals and perennials, so they're going to come up every year. Some of the annuals you're going to have to replant, but the perennials are going to come up by themselves. So if you are a type of person who doesn't have a lot of time to do a lot of gardening, get your perennials, your begonias. There's different types of begonias, different colors. Rosebush. I mean, the only time you really have to touch it is when you have to prune the dead plants off. So you can do that in a routine. They come back every year. I have some different types of rose bushes, and the small rose bushes, and then I have the regular bushes. I prune them all the way back to the bare bone. This way, they blossom the same day. Another plant, if you are, comes back every year, tulips. There are different varieties of tulips. They come up before the Easter season. They're very pretty. They bloom. Hostas come back every year. If you want to kind of do that, now, because we have deer all over roaming around, they will come into your yard and eat them. I'm one of those type of growers, a gardener who grows plants that they don't like. They don't like rose bushes. They don't like begonias. They have a smell. Marigolds. If you want to have a deterrent garden, get marigolds. They're cheap. You can put them around the perimeters. They add a burst of color. And they make your yard smell really, really great. You can put them in flower boxes. They bloom, they grow. They don't need a lot of pruning or anything. They pretty much can tend to themselves. So if you're trying to do it on a shoestring budget, get those kind of plants that you can get in a nice tray for about $7 to $8. Zinnias are also deer deterrent. I kind of put them through. They're deer deterrent, but they're also fox deterrent. Foxes roam around my area. They will come in your yard because they're nosy. They do. But they can sense when there's a dog. They know when there's a dog in the area. Another thing is if you're going to garden, you really have to tend to your yard. If you have dogs, cleaning up your yard regularly, daily, is a must. Keeping your grass maintained is necessary. That's part of the growing process. Because if you have vine plants like pumpkin and watermelon and cantaloupe, I usually kind of put them in the far corner of because they will vine, and that vine goes everywhere. One of the things I do is that I take the vine and I kind of give it direction where it can grow, because if you don't do that, it can take over your yard. Especially pumpkin, because it gets thicker and really big and thick, and pumpkin is going to start sprouting. One of the things I did in the beginning was to use a dollar store laundry basket because it has holes. I grew watermelon, tomato, and pumpkin, and they were able to vine. And I didn't have to punch any holes. All I had to do was pretty much direct it how I wanted it to grow. And it went really well. Last year, my pumpkin almost took over my entire part of my patio. So I learned to keep it further away from the house. Another animal that can be detrimental to your garden is a cat. If it's not your cat, you're going to have to put plants that they don't like to smell. But if you have a cat and you want to treat them to some catnip, you can actually use these kind of containers to kind of put them around your house, and you will make your cat very happy. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at Quandra, Quandra, .gaines, GAINES, at gmail.com. I'm going to be doing a project with a couple of seniors this year to teach them how to grow herbs and things of that nature. If you would like to be a part of that venture, you can always let me know that. As always, it's better to grow your own food, because this way you get to kind of test out little foods before you go out and buy bulk. But it's very, very economically sound for you to taste different types of herbs and plants, and then you can actually flash freeze them, blanch them, and enjoy them the entire year. This is Quandra Beans, and I hope that you have a wonderful Saturday. I wish you a very prosperous and productive week. And I see you next week, next Saturday at 9 a.m. And we'll talk more about growing plants. We're going to go out into the backyard, and I'm going to kind of like begin to mark my yard, kind of using string or lighting or whatever. We'll also talk about, it's not just about growing plants in your backyard or your front yard, how solar lighting can play a huge role in how you light your patio or your deck or your yard, your fencing. I'm going to be trying a new lighting this year. solar lighting, and we'll be installing them on my cedar fence. Um, we'll be looking at the containers that I currently have and deciding on what plants we're going to be putting in. So we'll be talking about little markers. I mean, I keep them. I don't really use these, um, but sometimes I do. In the garden, it can be in a container garden. These can be really, really great because you know what kind of plants you have, where they are. Because I've been doing this um, for a little while, before I bought my home, I gardened. I kept them in my home. I put them around my kitchen windows because the more lighting you have, the better. I currently am starting my herbs in my downstairs bathroom because it's a lot of sunlight and it's warm, and I can start on a lot of the plants that take a lot of time to grow. Some of the plants that I use do grow, take 60 days. That's why it's beneficial to start January, February, March, and April. This way you have you have more time in your home than you have in the growing season. Most of the growing season, my kale, collard, those green plants, I can harvest all the way up until December. That's the time when I'm starting to put out my tomato plants, like because tomatoes actually like cold weather. Lettuce loves cold weather, and by becoming more familiar with the plants that you have in your garden, you're going to be much more prone to become an expert in that particular uh, those types of plants. And then every year I kind of venture in. Um, every other year I grow um, sunflowers. I love sunflower seeds and I love pumpkin seeds. So I grow each one on opposite sides of the yard. Um, I have a variety of sunflower seeds called Autumn Beauty. These seeds I got in 2021 and 2020. Now, before I grow these, I usually soak these seeds for 72 hours. I do not put these in the soil until actually the soil is like warm, because these actually sprout quite. They grow really, really fast. Um, if you don't know, these can grow up to 6 to 7 feet. If you um, have the space, I would grow these. If you have like a cedar fence or a tall fence, I would grow these like along the border of your fence, inside border of your fence, because they can actually be used as privacy. When you grow sunflower seeds, you are going to attract birds. You are going to attract all types of bees, all types of hornets. So I wouldn't suggest you to grow this on the exterior, on the outside of your deck, because you're going to have a wide array of bugs, bees, and birds. Um, my first year of growing these, I put them on the exterior of my patio. And it was a party. It was a 24-hour party. I had birds and they were eating my seeds. So I've learned to put them on the interior of my exterior fence. And as they grow, I kind of put like a little mesh over them to keep my seeds. Because I use these seeds every year that I get them. They are sunflower seeds. I put them back in here. I dry them. What I don't eat, I dry them and I put them in here. So enjoy your day. Have a great week. And we'll talk about more gardening next time. Goodbye.